Welcome to this week's episode. I am your host, Louise, and I am doing a solo episode this week, as promised, and I am delighted to do that. I've had so many wonderful guests on recently and lovely guests lined up with amazing stories to tell and experiences to share, and I have just been absolutely loving connecting with these guests and getting the privilege and the honour to hear about their personal, really deep experiences with their pet loss. I hope that you have also been having takeaways from these episodes, resonating with these episodes, because I fully believe that with sharing experiences, we can feel less alone in our own experience. So I am just loving that. But this week it's just me, little old me, and I think that I don't have a set topic to speak about this week. Just wanted to speak about a couple of things that I'm passionate about, really. So it's kind of like a freestyle episode, and it's not overly planned out, but I do feel that sometimes those kind of episodes can be the good ones sometimes. But I shared this week on my Instagram stories that I am writing a book. So the cat is out of the bag essentially, and I have receiving some love online for that. And I think that I'm not going to delve into exactly what I'm writing the book on, but obviously it's pet loss related, and I do feel that the more information that's out there, it can help people feel somewhat validated in what they're going through. So it's just a deeply personal experience that I've been going through over the last couple of months writing this book, and I really do feel that I'm coming towards the finish line with it, and in the next, just before the summer, it should be out. It should be available to buy. So I'll be able to speak about it more in the coming months, but it's been hard to write. It's been emotional. It's been there's been a lot of stuff surfacing within me that I'm just not good enough as a writer to release a book. But I keep going somehow. I do have those kind of insecurities and negative thoughts around judging myself, I guess. Am I good enough to be an author? Am I good enough to write? And I just get inspiration from other people's books that I have bought. I've mentioned Michelle Elman here before. I've got her books, and she writes on lots of different topics: boundaries, friendship, love. She writes on lots of different topics, and I think just getting inspiration and kind of finding strength from an author like her and authors like her that are kind of in the self-help field have been really kind of inspirational for me to write on such a passionate topic that means so much to me, and that I guess I have lived experience of this topic, and I'd like to share that with whoever decides to pick up the book and read it. So that is a little update, but another thing that I wanted to share with all of you listening this week is on Thursday this week, it was obviously National Love Your Pet Day, and I shared 2 pictures of Ozzy and Moose on my Instagram stories. Some of you may have seen these pictures, and they're 2 of my favourite pictures of them, because I didn't really get many selfies with them over the years, which I'm a little bit annoyed about. I should have taken more pictures, but I was always just too busy just playing with them to remember to kind of take my phone out of my pocket and take tons of pictures. I was that kind of person. Kind of just be in the experience with them instead of always having the phone in their face, which is okay sometimes, but I guess I just didn't think of it at the time. But so I do cherish the pictures that I have. But something that I would love to share with you all is that obviously if you've kind of listened from the beginning of these episodes, you know, from episode 1 onwards, you would be aware that a little over a year after my dogs died, I moved away from my house, and I moved about an hour and 45-50 minutes away, so nearly 2 hours away, down to County Cork, where I'm living now in the lovely countryside here with my current fiance. And what I missed was being able to go to my family home, where both of my dogs are buried together in the same little grave in the family garden. And I really struggled with that, and I had been struggling with it because I wasn't, you know, heading home that much anymore. So it was really difficult for me. So what I decided to do was, the last time that I was there, I decided to gather the items that were on this grave. So a toy, one of Ozzy's favourite toys, and one of Moose's favourite toys. And then also the slate. I had a slate made with engravings of their names, and, you know, like their kind of date of birth, and how, you know, like how long they lived. Do you know, the way you could see them on a regular human grave, basically, their lifespan on it. But it was a slate with those engravings, so I took that, and there was 2 ornaments, and they were both, of course, would you happen to guess, 2 robins. So I took those few items from their grave, from my family home where they are buried. Because I haven't been able to maintain it, it was looking very kind of unloved and dilapidated, and it's really hard to kind of keep it maintained. There are like different kind of bulbs that are planted there, like snowdrops, daffodils, that crop up at different times of the year, which are gorgeous, and that I never get to see, really, to be honest. So I was feeling a bit down about it, and I kind of spoke to Steve about it, and I said I'd love to have a little area here, you know, in Cork, where I've been living now for quite a couple of years, and I'd love to create some kind of a space. I didn't really know in my mind what that was, but somewhere outside. And there's a beautiful cherry blossom tree in our back garden here, and I love cherry blossom trees so much. And so we had the idea to create a little flower bed that kind of resembles you know, a grave, basically. So I went to the gardening shop, and I got lots of compost and a couple of lovely plants, and a pot with some flowers, and we got some of those little solar lights that you stick into the lawn that light up at night. And both of us, within a few hours, we had this beautiful kind of raised flower bed made, like with a little, I don't know, it was just, I can't describe it right now, but what I am, if you check my Instagram, I will have shared some photographs of this, and I put all of the items on this little memorial flower bed, grave, garden, I don't even know what to call it, but I'll show you, I'll post some photos on my Instagram. And it's, honestly, it was so comforting to do that. And this October 2025, it will be 6 years since my dogs died, and I think I can't fathom that, to be honest. It does not feel like 6 years. I don't know where, I actually have no idea where those years just went. Like, it's crazy. And I still think about them every day. In it, like, I have peace with it, but I think about them every day, and I have pictures of them all around me, and right now here, anywhere I move my eyes, they're my screensaver on my laptop. There's pictures of them hanging up. There's portraits of them in the corner of this office. I just like to see them everywhere. I would have them all over the house if I could, but I mean, there has to be room for other photographs. So I kind of think that doing that has really helped me. Really, I wanted to feel more connected to them because it was really bothering me, and it was upsetting me that I was so far away from their grave, that I couldn't maintain it properly, that I felt like I was neglecting it, like I felt like I was so far away from them. And in essence, I really do know that they're with me any location, they're with me anywhere I am. It was just, I think it was just that sacred, safe kind of place where they were laid to rest that I was having a struggle with. And now, like, since I have a little area for them here, a special place for them here, with their items, with, you know, I don't know, I just kind of think having their names there engraved, and that little engraving slate is like leaning against the cherry blossom tree, and it's really, really lovely, and I really feel like this is their little spot and that I have them here with me now, and I'm able to maintain it, I'm able to look after it, I'm able to go out there when I feel like I'm missing them a lot, like I want to have a chat with them, like I just want to connect with them, and it feels amazing. And I guess it's just to let you, the listener, know that I am still nearly 6 years down the line doing things to help me feel connected to the memory of my dogs and help me feel like I can keep that relationship alive, like I can just honour them as best as I can, because I never have forgotten them. I never will forget them. They're a huge part of my life. Even every week, every time I hit record for this podcast, they're the reason, you know, that I started all of this. They're with me in it, and I kind of feel that I'm keeping that connection going, along with all the other things that, you know, I love to do, like going to their favourite beach on their anniversary, doing the hike up in Northern Ireland, and hiking that stairway to heaven in the mountains, and just kind of doing little things like that that really kind of mean something to me, and how I keep that relationship alive, and making this like beautiful flower bed kind of special place for me recently was like something that I feel like I didn't know I needed as such, but I really did need it. And I wasn't going to share it because it was like really personal to me, and I didn't kind of, I felt a little bit of like, oh, people will think I'm just, you know, doing like making this fake grave for the dogs that aren't buried here. And I was like, you know what, I don't care what people think, because if this helps me to feel less alone and more connected to my dogs, then I'm going to do it. And honestly, Steve didn't even bat an eyelid. He suggested it, I'd say months ago, and I kind of thought, oh, I don't know, and they're not really there. But in essence, they're not really in my family home either. You know, their remains are there. Yes, their remains are there in the ground, but they are where I am. They are anywhere that I go. So saying that out loud to myself, that I can hear that now, and saying it to you, I hope can bring you some comfort, and maybe reframe that thought in your mind. Because sometimes I speak to clients that are deeply upset if they have to move from a certain property, whether they were renting, whether they had bought it and they sold it, and that their family pet or that their cat, their dog, was buried in that garden, and they have to leave and they have to live somewhere else. They feel utterly devastated and heartbroken, and I totally get it, because I have literally just gone through it. And I kind of feel that I hope sharing my experience by creating this really special place here where I live now will maybe inspire you to create something that will help you to feel closer to your pet. And I think that that's what this is all about, is really that your pet's physical remains are in that place, and whether some people scatter ashes in a particular property and have to move as well, or like there's so many different instances that I talk with clients about, and I kind of think that by me sharing this experience, which was a recent personal experience for me, I hope that it would kind of spark something in your mind to be able to provide some comfort for you, knowing that you can do something similar. You can create a space for you, whether that's a space in the house and not outside the house, wherever that space needs to be, in the location that you are now, or in a nice location that's nearby where you're living, and to get like somebody that you trust involved to help you do that. And they'll be like, yeah, that's a great idea, and they'll help you along. And it was just so helpful for me. And when I close my curtains at night in my bedroom, I can see it. I can see half of this beautiful little flower bed grave area. I can see the solar lights lighting up and kind of glistening in the night sky, and it actually brought a tear to my eye this week when I looked out and saw it, because it was just a reminder that they're with me, they're here. And I felt like Ozzy and Moose were saying, we're right here, we're here, like we're where you are. And I even feel emotional talking about it now, because I felt emotional at the time when I looked out the back window, and it brought so much comfort to me. And I really wanted to share that with all of you. I think that was something that I really wanted to be open about. And I wasn't going to, but I was like, you know what? I always dwell on things going, will I, won't I, will I? I always end up doing it anyway, because each and every one of you have been so kind to me and sent wonderful messages and just feedback of love. And I continue to share my experiences and my struggles and my wins as well, as each week goes on, because all of you kind of motivate me to do that. And yeah, and hearing now other people's stories is just incredible, which I hope that you too are, getting something from and feeling connected in that way with the guests that are coming on speaking. And that's the goal here, really, is for you to feel even a little bit better on a really, really tough day, a really, really tough grief day that you're having. So I'm just delighted to have shared that. But there was something else that popped into my head, particularly this week, that the week was in it. And if you aren't kind of familiar with, the greyhound industry in Ireland, you may not be, but here in Ireland, greyhound racing, there is still, I think, approximately 15 open greyhound tracks here in Ireland. And if you've listened, of course, from the beginning, you would have learned along the way that my partner Steve and I, we are, big supporters of greyhound rescue in Ireland, and we have been fostering greyhounds and just kind of rehabilitating them into like domestic home life and helping them along the way to get to their forever homes. And it's the most rewarding experience that both of us have done in the last few years. And this week, which it's all over the news, but if you aren't kind of familiar with what's going on, so in the UK, the government have announced in Wales that they are to ban greyhound racing, and that's going to come into effect pretty soon. And there is talks that Scotland are going to follow suit pretty soon. So this is excellent news for us here in Ireland. We there's a big push on at the moment of rescues, and Greyhound Action Ireland coming out speaking about the amount of greyhounds in Ireland that have to suffer welfare issues, injuries and death, So I've researched a little bit of this because obviously I'm passionate about this subject, and it gets me very upset. It gets me very angry because there was a general election recently, and the majority of politicians voted for public funding to be passed again for the greyhound racing industry in Ireland. So over the last approximately 23 years or so, €368 million of public funds have gone to the greyhound racing industry in Ireland. And just to kind of clarify that Ireland is the only country that uses taxpayers' money to fund greyhound racing. So it is absolutely barbaric, like it's crazy, it's horrendous, and it is such a huge misuse of public funds, of taxpayers' money. It could go to the Olympics, it could go to Irish sports, it could go into any other department, like any other avenue that needs it more. And it's just kind of sick. And just to give you an idea, in 2024, 202 greyhounds were killed, and 389 greyhounds suffered with injuries. And I think there's a lot more greyhounds that were euthanised off the greyhound track. So that's only 202 in 2024 that were euthanised on the greyhound track. There's thousands of greyhounds that are put to sleep off the greyhound track, and of course that are unaccounted for, that of course are sold and shipped off to places like Pakistan, which have very poor animal welfare regulations, or none, to be honest. I'm just very passionate about this subject, and up until like 5-6 years ago, I really didn't know much about this subject. I will admit, I'll hold my hands up, I was uneducated around the facts. RTE Investigates did a documentary in 2019 on the greyhound racing industry in Ireland. I do urge you to look that up. RTE Investigates greyhound racing documentary, and it was absolutely horrendous to watch. It was an excellent documentary, but I cried the whole way through that. It was absolutely heartbreaking, and I think there has been lots of surveys done, general public surveys kind of done in recent years, and the most recent one, it's come out that 70% of the Irish people don't want public funds to fund greyhound racing anymore, and they want greyhound racing to be banned. And it's just the public of Ireland, they're not being listened to by the politicians that are running the country. And it's heartbreaking, and I think each year that goes on, it's more heartbreaking, because there's so many unwanted greyhounds, there's so many unwanted coursing greyhounds, as well. So there's just the racing industry itself. I mean, it kind of goes beyond that into hare coursing, and where sighthounds are used for different kinds of competitions, and and this kind of thing. And you can probably hear in my voice that it's upsetting, because I feel these dogs have a very short lifespan. If they're particularly if they're a racing greyhound, they don't really get to live out all of their years, because if they're not making money, if they're not fast enough, they're euthanized, unfortunately. And it was before Christmas, obviously, greyhound racing was banned in New Zealand, which was amazing. And now that it's coming closer to our shores and it's banned in Wales, I am keeping all my fingers crossed that the politicians that are against this cruelty of a sport is, that they're going to really, really push this in government to try and at least get the public funding for greyhound racing phased out over, a couple of years or however many years. And I think once greyhound racing in Ireland isn't funded by taxpayers' money, that it would just die as a sport, because attendance records in the 15 tracks are way down to what they used to be years ago. So I kind of think that it's going in the right direction, but it's very, very slow. And because why am I talking about this is because I'm so passionate about fostering, and I was uneducated about this topic once. And I really think that if you are living in Ireland or wherever you're living, like, just a small bit of education can go a long way into understanding that there's a reason why greyhound racing has been banned in so many different countries. I think there's only 2 greyhound racing tracks that are still open in the US. So I know many of you are listening from the US, and I kind of feel that maybe some of you listening, had been aware of the issue in the US already. But for Ireland, we're so behind. We're way behind, and it's heartbreaking. And I kind of feel fostering is such a gift. And I go back to the episode, The Gift of Fostering. I have an episode, I don't know what number it is off the top of my head now, but go back and have a listen to that, and you can hear about like everything I share with you about my very first greyhound foster, because it was my very first time having a dog living with me since both of my 2 dogs died. So it was such a special moment, full of anticipation, nerves, just emotion, all of the above. But everything I got from that situation, and the love and affection that I received from that greyhound, was just opened my heart again to being able to live with another dog. So I really feel that if you are interested in the topic, have a listen to that episode, The Gift of Fostering. But of course, it kind of does lead me on to, like, if you are at a stage on your grief journey where you have done a lot of processing, a lot of releasing of that built up emotional energy, where you've kind of gone on that roller coaster of grief for quite some time, and you feel like you have some healing around the death of your pet, but you still maybe don't feel that you want to adopt or want to bring a new pet into your life, I do recommend fostering. And I know now you always hear the term failed fosters and so on, and of course that is a reality for people, but even fostering for like 4, 5, 6 weeks can be just life-changing in itself. It can just be so life-changing in so many ways. And if there's anybody that's listening that has fostered, like, leave a comment under this episode and let other listeners know what it was like for you, and what kind of gifts and learnings you kind of gained from fostering, because I definitely shared mine in that episode. But it's so rewarding, and it's giving a lifeline to a pet who may not have had that lifeline, who may have been sentenced to euthanasia, basically. And that's the harsh reality that is not really spoken about at all very often. So I do want to share that, because obviously it's been on my mind this week a lot, and it's an important topic personally to me. And I kind of feel that even when you go back and speak to, or when I spoke to a few clients about their rescues and their adoption stories, and a few of them decided to adopt greyhounds, and just like the amount of love that they receive from their hound is just like, they couldn't even explain it. It's such a rewarding relationship. They're just the most underrated pet. But here I am trying to promote greyhounds, but they're such a wonderful pet. All breeds of dog and cat and other animals are so unique and special in their own way. So if you are at a stage where you feel, I've never really thought about fostering before, maybe I can look into it, even just research it a little bit and see what feelings you get, what kind of intuition you get about it, and see if it would kind of float your boat, as they would say. But I've definitely spoken longer than I had planned. But check out my Instagram for those couple of pictures I spoke about that I'm going to pop up on my page, that you can have a look at my special place that I have dedicated now to the memory of Ozzy and Moose. And also I want to wish you a really peaceful and comforting weekend ahead. Do something that makes you feel good this weekend. But until next week we have a lovely guest on. I will speak to you then.